Oh, howdy all, grab yourselves a beer. It is time for some Path of Exile discussion. Today is the 10th day of Heist League spoilers, and this was a fairly quiet one with the exception of a single big piece of news, which I pulled out into its own video, and that was the new spells and the reworks of the steel skills. So that's its own video, but let's have a quick look at the minor pieces of information as well. Firstly, we've got Replica Kaom's Heart. This is designed with an Archmage in mind. So, just like the original, has no sockets. Where the original has increased fire damage, this has increased lightning damage instead. Increased lightning damage being exactly what an Archmage would want. And instead of 500 maximum life, it has 500 maximum mana. I really love the flavor text. Useless for our purposes, but perhaps we can sell prototype number 5 to an Archmage to fund other experiments. What this is competing with, so Archmage support is a skill gem that scales your damage based upon the maximum mana that you've got. It scales the mana cost of your spells in accordance with the mana that you've got, and then it scales the damage based upon the amount of mana that was actually spent, as long as your mana cost is not an unpayable cost. So that's sort of an exploit prevention mechanism with things like Lavinia's Spirit and Indigon. But in normal use, if you're actually paying the mana, then Archmage, it causes your damage to scale explosively with the amount of mana that you've spent. And Replica Kaom's Heart, by tremendously increasing your mana pool, provides you a way to take advantage of that. Additionally, Archmage adds lightning damage, and this increases lightning damage as well. So it's a pretty solid item. Whether it's got a home or not, I'm not sure. I feel like the Replica Shroud of the Lightless, which is the replica unique armor that has 6 abyssal sockets, may be superior to it for an Archmage's situation, given that I think it will be fairly easy to source a abyssal jewel for each slot that has 40 mana on it. So that'll give you half the mana of Replica Kaom's Heart, slightly over half because the base type of Replica Shroud of the Lightless has implicit mana anyway. And based on all of that, I think that the other benefits you will get from the Replica Shroud of the Lightless might push Replica Kaom's Heart out of consideration. The other thing that Replica Kaom's Heart is competing with is the pre-existing unique item, the pre-existing unique item that is used by a lot of Archmages, the Cloak of Defiance, which is again something that gives a fair amount of mana on its own. It gives 150, and it also provides a very powerful defense. Replica Kaom's Heart has no defense on it. That said, by all means, definitely play around with this if you're able to get your hands on it. Given that Kaom's Heart, it may have fallen out of the meta, but it is still a pretty rare item. I wouldn't be shocked if Replica Kaom's Heart is also quite rare. We're just going to have to find that one out. But I do see this being something people play around with. Lastly, this is an item that has interesting options in the Corruption Chamber as well. If you were to get 2 of the defensive corrupts on it, normally when you corrupt a chess piece you want plus to the level of socketed gems. Obviously that doesn't apply with Kaom's Heart, but you could still get some defensive corruptions on it. And because you don't have to worry about anything to do with socketing the item, that means that there's a bit of a lower cost putting one of these into the 2 implicit Krangor chamber than there is on a 6-linked piece of armor. So yeah, I think this is a fun item. Whether it's good or not, I don't think it's going to be good, but I'm very open to being proven wrong. I think people will have some fun times with it. The second thing, and I will warn you, there's going to be a little bit of a flashbang here. We got the schedule on Twitter for the information that will be revealed next week. So these are all in American times. If, like me, you're in Australia, add an extra day onto this. If you are in Europe, then consider these to be midnight on that day. So, for instance, if you're in, say, if you're listening from France or from the UK, then where it says Monday, think of that as being between 11 PM and midnight on Monday night. So first up on Sunday is the challenge rewards. That's a minor piece of information. Often comes with the Zana mods as well, although there's some talk the Zana mods might be on Monday, which would be Monday American time. So yeah, challenge rewards on the Sunday. Monday is the Balance Manifesto. This is a high-level overview of what skills and abilities are considered to be overperforming against the game, against the available content in the game. So if skills are trivializing endgame encounters, this will be where we'll get our first notice that, hey, this one's getting a power level haircut. Likewise, it'll also say what skills are just underperforming, and then the patch notes will contain actual hard information on what's getting improved, what's getting nerfed. On Tuesday US time, Wednesday over here in Australia, we'll get the patch notes, as we say, which is the biggest single piece of news in the entire lead up to the entire hype cycle for the league. We'll also get the item filter information and the passive tree. One day after that is the 2020 gems. This will not include all of the alternate quality gems, which will possibly be coming at a separate time. Then the next day there will be a torrent. If you're someone that is both tech savvy and has a crangled internet connection, then you should look into the torrent when it becomes available Friday my time, Thursday in the US. But if you have a good internet connection, you can completely ignore the torrent. Likewise, if you're not tech savvy, I would advise you to ignore the torrent as well, because they can be something that's a bit tricky to use. Lastly, of course, is the actual launch itself, what all of this hype period is building up to. So the other piece of information that we got, and we're back to a darker screen now, which I think people will be happy with. I actually like the bright, but most people don't, is this tornado wand. The reason that this was spoiled was because it has fire modifiers have 8% increased effect, which is one of the new enchants that you can get on weapons. Now, the way these weapon enchants will work, the heist mechanics, you'll pick up one contract roughly every map, and then one blueprint, which is for a capstone, a grand heist, roughly 12 times rarer than the contracts. That may be subject to change, but so think of the grand heist as being like an incursion temple. They're a capstone for capstone event that caps off a series of normal contracts, and you will get these as one of the potential rewards inside those grand heists. So essentially, you'll be presented with 5 or so different types of reward rooms, and one of them is the experimented bases that we've discussed before, and another one is enchanted weapons and armor. So when these drop, they will drop with a bias towards better mods than usual. We don't know exactly how this works, but it seems from this that they will roll with mods that are heavily weighted towards some sort of synergy with the base item. 8% increased effect doesn't sound like much, but it's important to say that a lot of these mods work together. So for instance, that 8% is increasing your fire damage, it's increasing your fire damage to spells, and it's increasing your fire damage over time multiplier. So if you're playing a fireball build, you're essentially triple dipping on this, if it's a fireball ignite build anyway. You can potentially triple dip here and get some benefit from each of these 3 nodes each of these 3 mods that is always, each of them is scaled by 8%. So overall, it's roughly cubic scaling. This will be the same on other types of weapons as well. So for instance, if you had a weapon that had physical damage, physical modifiers have increased effect, then that would make it might upgrade Tyrannical to be as good as Merciless is, while also upgrading Flaring beyond its normal limits, and also upgrading the Emperor's mod to be equivalent to the Dictator's mod. And so this is a powerful boost to both the item's initial power level and also to its ultimate potential if you were to craft further on it. I think ultimately that this is going to mean that pretty much all crafting in this league for weapons, you're going to want to begin with a base that has a synergistic enchant, because they're just going to make them so much better. Anyway, as I said, it was a pretty quiet day today. That is all we've got. If you've got any comments or questions, fire away below. Otherwise, the only thing I'll add is that the 3.11.2 technical patch went live today. If you are holding off on downloading it because you've got crangled internet connection, it seems to have worked reasonably well. It doesn't look like it's a disaster that's going to be rolled back. And so I would say if you are holding off on logging into the game, it's probably safe to start that download and just let it go, walk away from the PC, and let it do its job. That's all I got. Comments or questions, fire away below. Otherwise, have a good one.